She simply wanted to open the window for some fresh air because she couldn't sleep. But to her horror, she discovered that the sky at 3 in the morning was as bright as day. When she peered through the blinds, she saw an eerie white glow in the distance. The light quickly expanded, and the blinding glare instantly made it impossible for her to keep her eyes open. At first, Janai didn't think much of it. She assumed it was just a natural phenomenon unique to the area, so she casually crawled back under the covers. Little did she know that a terrible disaster had already begun to unfold. The next morning, her boyfriend came to wake her up. The two of them had traveled all the way here specifically for a vacation, but just as they were about to go for breakfast, they were surprised to find the hotel restaurant completely empty. They assumed the staff might be taking the day off, so they decided to grab something to eat outside. But the moment they stepped out of the hotel, they were stunned. It was already 10:30 a.m., yet the streets were deserted. There wasn't even a single car in sight. The surroundings were deathly quiet, so quiet it was almost scary. But at that moment, the couple didn't think much of it. They guessed that the local area must be hosting some kind of event that had drawn everyone there. But as they walked further and further, they finally realized the gravity of the situation. Not only were there no other people on the streets, but even the animals had vanished without a trace. Feeling uneasy, the couple hurried back to the busiest downtown area, but it, too, was completely deserted. They shouted until their voices were hoarse, yet received no response from anyone. It was as if everyone had vanished into thin air. Even if there was some kind of event, there should have been posters plastered along the streets. Filled with doubt, the pair headed to the largest local supermarket, thinking there must surely be someone here, but the result left them utterly disheartened. Not only did they not see a single customer, but even the sales staff were nowhere to be found. They then went from one supermarket to another, but all were completely deserted. Refusing to accept this, the two began wandering the streets, but after searching nearly half the city, they didn't see a single soul. They then walked into a nearby pub, and found the chairs neatly arranged, which meant that since closing time last night, no one had come in since. This eerie phenomenon left Janai completely distraught. Where on earth had everyone gone? Just then, Riley suddenly thought of the TV news. With such a huge event happening, the TV would surely be flooded with reports. But just as Riley eagerly switched to the news channel, he discovered the TV was completely blank. With no other choice, the two left the tavern, just as a thick fog began to envelop them. Where on earth had everyone gone? If a virus had killed everyone, surely they'd be able to see the bodies. If aliens had abducted everyone, where was the alien spacecraft? With no other choice, they decided to return to their hotel. Riley immediately pulled out his laptop and tried to find answers online. To his surprise, however, the news had stopped at yesterday's headlines. Janai tried calling her mother in the U.S., but no one answered. Messages sent to family and friends went unanswered, as if they'd vanished into thin air. Just then, Riley came up with a plan. He immediately grabbed his girlfriend and ran outside. He decided to head to the highest point in the city, to survey the situation across the entire island. So the two set off for the mountain. But as they walked, they were pleasantly surprised to find a car still running, with the windows open. However, the driver was nowhere to be seen. So the two didn't hesitate to get in the car, and sped toward the mountaintop. But when they finally made it to the top, they found the villa there was also completely deserted. It wasn't until evening that the two returned to the hotel, completely exhausted. Janai felt as though they might be in the midst of a long, terrible nightmare. Perhaps a good night's sleep would restore everything to normal by morning. However, when they woke up the next day, the surprise they had imagined never materialized. The world remained just as eerily silent as it had been the day before. Now, all Janai could think about was getting out of there, but Riley was at a loss as well. For the time being, they had to fill their stomachs before figuring out what to do next, so the two headed straight to the supermarket. Looking at the wide variety of goods on the shelves, they wasted no time and started loading up several shopping carts. Seeing that their car couldn't hold all that cargo, before long, Riley drove out of the store in a luxury SUV. But with so many items, the hotel fridge certainly wouldn't be able to hold it all. So without a second thought, the two drove to an affluent neighborhood. They picked a house they liked and moved right in. Janai never imagined that one day she would live in such a luxurious villa and experience the life of the wealthy. At first, she found it very hard to adjust, but watching her boyfriend play and frolic endlessly in the mansion, she gradually came to terms with her new reality. Next, the two went to a luxury boutique and bought a huge amount of clothes they would normally never splurge on. That evening, the couple went to a bar to fully indulge in this life of glitz and glamour. Now the entire world belonged to them. Every mountain and river was their private property. The young couple recklessly reveled in this bizarre gift bestowed by heaven. However, this seemingly carefree life actually harbored immense danger.